Thanks, everyone. This is Kevin Gaugish. Thanks for joining us today. Can I have the dream retirement I want? We are recording today's session. We'll be sending out that link later. I'm going to hand the presentation over to the two fine gentlemen from CFG. I think, Anthony, you're going to lead the conversation, and he's also joined by Mark today. So, gentlemen, presentation is yours.
Great. Thank you, Kevin, and I appreciate you putting this time together here. So this is now our third presentation here, and we're going to be speaking specifically about retirement today. And for those of you that, can you have the dream retirement that you want? That's the important question that we'll be discussing today. So my name is Anthony DiChiara. I think we've had the chance to meet many of the employees over the years, and to my left is Mark Sullivan as well. There will be some time at the end for questions and answers, and we can also pause throughout the presentation, but today we're going to be talking specifically about retirement and how to get the dream retirement that you want. So a couple of the questions and topics that we will be talking about today from a high level is, what is your grand plan for retirement? What are your goals? What are the things that you were looking to accomplish? Also discussing, is your portfolio aligned with your intentions and your goals? We'll talk about how to, how to track your expenses and whether those expenses may increase or decrease in retirement. Are you aware of taxes, obviously regarding, 401ks and other distributions in retirement? We'll talk about healthcare costs as well, and inflation, which are, I would say, probably the two hot topics of today, given the fact that inflation is, at a 40-year high right now. We'll also discuss Social Security at a base level, and we'll talk about some of the planning software that we at Sentinel use to help you come up with your specific retirement plan and how to test that as well. So the first thing that we'll discuss is your grand plan for retirement. So retirement is your next life phase. So if you think about it, you've probably been working for 30, 40, 50 years, and all of a sudden you enter this new phase, right, where you may not be earning the same income that you had originally, and now you're looking to spend your income. You might be, having some retirement goals of maybe moving to a warmer climate, things like that. And there'll be a lot of changes or decisions that you'll have to make. So a couple of those can be, will you be downsizing your home or the place that you reside? Will you maybe be upsizing your lifestyle? So maybe you're spending more time with your family or the grandkids, you're traveling more with your partner. There'll be, basically some life changes there, and income is obviously an important thing to consider with that. Also, are you going to be working part-time in retirement, or did you get to the point where you've worked your whole life and now you're deciding to completely, shut that down and just enjoy the rest of your retirement with your family? Also, hobbies, these might add expenses to your income, or to your budget in the future as well. Discussing if your portfolio is aligned with your intentions. So in regards to retirement, I like to discuss the three, themes of retirement. So your early years are going to be your go-go years. Your middle years in retirement are maybe the slow-go years, and the later retirement are going to be the no-go years. And what I mean by that is, early in retirement, maybe those first 3 to 5 years, you're excited to retire. Maybe you're spending a lot of time traveling. Maybe you're going out to dinner, 2 to 3 times a week. Spending a lot of time with your grandchildren, spending a lot of money. So during the first, 3 to 5 years, you're probably going to be spending maybe just as much, if not more, than you were spending, while you were working. So, you're active, you're doing things, you're picking up new hobbies. So those are the go-go years in retirement. And, in terms of taking money to subsidize those expenses, you want the beginning of that to be conservative. So you don't want to have to take on too much risk early in retirement. So, for example, for somebody that maybe retired this year, not expecting that the market, had a tough year like it has, you want to take income from assets that are not necessarily aggressively invested. So on the left side of your screen here, you see maybe a conservative allocation for those immediate expenses in retirement. Then maybe as you get to the slow go years, maybe you're not traveling as much, maybe you're not going out to dinner as often and spending as much money. You should have a balanced portfolio for those expenses. So you want to be able to take some risk, but not a huge amount of risk, because if the portfolio declines, you may not have the amount of income that you originally thought for those retirement expenses. The third phase of retirement is your no-go years. So these are, later on in retirement where maybe you're not really traveling at all anymore. Maybe you're just, making dinner every night. You're not going out as much. And for those expenses, you can take a little bit more risk because those are your longer term expenses. So, maybe it's 10 to 15 years into your retirement. You should still be able to have some money invested for the later years. Therefore, as the market goes up, you're actually taking advantage of some of the growth there. So I always like to talk about, the three kind of phases in retirement: go, slow go, and no-go years. So not only do we discuss asset allocation, but product allocation is a really important feature in retirement. So product allocation is the process of allocating your financial resources or your investments to different kinds of financial products that will help you, sustain against new risks that you face as you transition through retirement. So there's kind of three tiers here. To your left is your traditional investments. So these are maybe some of the mutual funds that you own within your 401k plan. Maybe if you've opened up a stock or a brokerage account, any sort of investments that are for accumulation. The middle feature there is your Social Security, which I would say is probably the foundation of the majority of people's income in retirement. It may not sustain all of your expenses, but it's certainly a good part of your retirement income that you can rely on. So Social Security, if you have defined benefit or pension plans, I think, as the years go on, less and less people have those pension plans. So it's even more important to save more into your 401k so that you can sustain your retirement income in the future. Also to the right there, you have variable or fixed annuities with lifetime benefit riders. So these are things like, accounts that will give you a guaranteed income stream, ways to create a pension, maybe if you do not have a pension. We're going to look at the retirement planning spectrum here. So for anyone who's, over the age of 20, maybe all the way to age 60, this is your accumulation phase in retirement. So each phase may have different goals and different objectives, but you kind of get into the standpoint where, when you start working, 40 to 50 years with your job, you are accumulating money for the future. Maybe you start saving a little bit into your 401k, and as you get older and your income starts to increase, your savings to your 401k or to your investments increases as well. It becomes a really different story when you enter retirement. So you have the accumulation phase while you're working, and then in retirement, let's say it's age 60 or 65 or maybe even 70, that's when you're starting to distribute your income. So that becomes a different way of investing or managing your money. So we'll discuss that. So the first accumulation phase from ages 21 to 35, this is a general standpoint, but in your early working years, you kind of have, a couple of things to consider: protection, accumulation, and some key considerations that we'll go through. So protection, what are some things that you can take into effect, early in your career? Well, one is maybe protecting yourself if you were to become disabled. So I know a lot of us that are working for good companies, we usually have a disability protection as associated with that. There are also individual disability policies that you can look into as well. If you don't feel like your disability policy with your employer will cover you for all of your income, there's certainly ways that Mark and I can help you looking at different disability insurance coverages as well. So not only disability, but maybe you're looking to create a cash value life insurance, or just getting life insurance on yourself. You're young, you're healthy, your costs are going to be low. So this is a really important time, to kind of incorporate life insurance in that protection feature. I would say from an accumulation standpoint, maximize your retirement savings as much as you can. You all that are on this call have a very generous 401k match that your company participates in. So take advantage of that. Again, it's free money. If you're putting $1 in, your company is matching you as well. This is a really important concept to get early on, and as your income increases, to hopefully increase your contribution to your 401k plan as well. So, definitely take advantage of that. And if your 401k is just part of your investments, maybe you look at opening up an outside retirement account. Maybe you open up a Roth IRA for tax-free savings, or tax-free income in the future. Maybe you have college savings plans that you want to set up, maybe a 529 account, or maybe you just want to invest in a liquid investment account in the future that you don't have to wait until retirement to take out. So there's all sorts of different accumulation strategies that our team here can help you out with. Key considerations: choosing or selecting a financial professional. That's obviously important to start a relationship with your advisor at a young age. They get to understand you, your goals, what are important to you, and help you grow throughout your career. Obviously, balancing a budget and balancing your immediate versus future needs. So making sure that you figure out how much you're taking in on a monthly basis and how much you're spending on a monthly basis. And if there's some money left over, how much are you contributing to your individual savings? The next phase here is, in your mid 30s to, let's say, right around 50 years old. You're still in the accumulation phase, but there are some other things to consider as well. So from a protection standpoint, maybe you want to kind of reassess your life insurance plans. Maybe you had a term insurance at a young age, but now you wanted to increase that coverage, maybe as you have children as well. Also, this is the time frame where you might start to explore long-term care insurance as well. Accumulation strategies: as your income goes up, hopefully you're increasing your contributions to any sort of 401k or retirement plans. And maybe you're just funding more into your Roth IRAs, your college savings for your children, and increasing general investments as well. Some things that might come up as concerns at this time frame: maybe you have aging parents, maybe they're dealing with a long-term care situation, and you're starting to get a feel of how difficult that is, not only from a financial standpoint, but just the burden on families. This can become a big eye-opener to understanding long-term care insurance and some of the benefits there. So other families circumstances, having more children, maybe there's special needs dependents, maybe you're going through a divorce, all sorts of life events that might be happening and that you might need to tweak your individual plan for. Balancing family and work, maybe you want to spend more time with your family, and also balancing wants and needs. So, we all have things that we want to do, but maybe the income isn't at the point, or your savings aren't at the level that you can spend on those wants. So, just establishing whether it's a want or a need is certainly an important part to consider. The last phase of your accumulation is really, from age 60 plus, right? So you might still be working, but you're pretty much at or near that retirement frame. So obviously taking a look at your life insurance and disability protection, maybe you don't have as great of a need for life insurance at this age. Maybe your children are grown up and they're doing well enough on their own that you don't necessarily need to protect as much. So obviously taking a look at your life insurance and your disability protection and just reviewing those. Maybe discussing health insurance options, Medicare, Medigap. I would say long-term care at this age. If you don't have it at age 60, it can become, quite an expense later on, throughout your retirement. So you definitely want to look into this prior to age 60 if possible. Accumulation strategies. Maybe this is where we start to, change your plan to incorporate some annuities with maybe some guaranteed income features. Maybe we have some more advanced actively managed money portfolios to, accumulate even more money in the future, but also look at different risk classes for yourself. And some key considerations, maybe, you're downsizing your home already. Maybe the kids have moved out and you can, reduce your monthly expenses or your monthly mortgage, so to speak. Maybe you're moving to a different climate and you're starting to consider what you're going to be doing in retirement as it's, right around the corner. And, just in terms of taxes, you want to take a look at tax efficiency in retirement to see where you're going to be taking income from. And obviously, this is when you start to come up with your estate plan. having an attorney and a CPA, as well as a financial advisor, are kind of the three tiers of a proper plan. So not only your advisor, not only just your attorney, but everyone kind of works in conjunction there as well.
I know we've covered a lot. I just want to remind people, if you have any questions, feel free to ask or use the chat function for any of your questions. Thanks, Anthony.
Sure. Next area we'll talk about are your expenses in retirement, whether or not that's going to increase or decrease. So obviously everyone's plan for retirement is very different. You may want a really, comfortable income stream, and you're going to be traveling and doing all these great things. Some individuals might have a really simple retirement plan where they just want to relax and enjoy their years. So your expenses are going to really differ, but part of working with the financial advisors, we can get together and discuss those expenses and whether they're going to go up or down. So you want to consider what debts you may carry into retirement. So whether it's your mortgage, any sort of loans that you have outstanding, business loans as well, we can start to give you a feel of how much your expenses are going to look in retirement and if they're going to increase or decrease. Also looking at fixed expenses. So maybe your mortgage and your taxes, your clothing, your food, things that you're going to have to pay, and maybe separate those from your desired expenses. So the travel, the entertainment, the leisure, those types of things that can increase or decrease in retirement. Making sure that you have a reliable source of income to cover these expenses. So maybe you look at your Social Security and what you're receiving. Maybe you subtract out any sort of pension that you might be lucky enough to have. And then you start to, recover and say, okay, how much do I need to take from my 401k or my savings or my Roth IRAs or my investments to cover that shortfall? And hey, what is left over at the end of the day for any discretionary expenses that you may have later on in retirement? Taxes are a big concern in retirement, especially, if your income is either increasing or decreasing. It's very important to have an understanding of that. We always recommend that you work with the CPA or a tax advisor when it comes time for your taxes, because everyone's situation is different. So potential taxes that may apply, obviously, depending on the state that you live in or reside in. You have your state income tax. Everyone's going to have to deal with federal income taxes as well. Maybe if you have a lot of investments that you've had throughout the years and you're starting to sell off some of those investments, there may be some capital gains or dividend taxes that you're going to have to pay. Remember, any sort of retirement plan, 401ks, IRAs, Roth IRAs, these are all retirement accounts that are designed to take after age 59 and a half. So if you're taking them prior to 59 and a half, there could be potential penalties. So it's very important to consider, what is your net income or what is your net proceeds from retirement accounts if there are any penalties that are associated with that. Required minimum distributions at age 72. I know we spoke about this in previous, presentations, but at age 72, the IRS or the government will dictate that you must take out money from your qualified expenses. Again, qualified expenses are IRAs and 401k plans. So if you miss required minimum distributions in the future, the IRS will penalize you pretty heavily. It's actually a 50% penalty on your required minimum distributions if you do not take them. So very important to make sure at age 72 later on in retirement that you are taking out RMDs so that you're not penalized. So we have conversations with our clients about which accounts to draw from first. So I'm not necessarily suggesting that your taxable accounts are the first place that you take money from, but it can certainly be a good option. So taxable accounts are things that you've made contributions over the years with after-tax dollars. These could be savings accounts, your checking accounts, some types of investment strategies as well outside of the 401ks. These are really good vehicles to take income from because you're only paying your taxes on your earnings. All of the principal that you paid in or invested in over the years, that is usually going to be tax-free. So if you invested $100,000 into your savings, most of the time you've paid taxes on all of that money. So when you're taking out money, you're actually getting that exact money. You're not owing any money to the government. to take your distributions. You might have some ongoing taxes on your dividends or capital gains as those accounts grow, but the principal is not taxed. So these could actually potentially offset any capital gains. So in years where maybe the market is down and you're taking money from investments, you could maybe offset capital losses and capital gains to have a net zero tax expenditure. Some other areas to take are tax favored accounts. So these are things like municipal bonds that might not be taxed at the state level. So obviously, overall, less taxes are going to be owed. So net in pocket, you're getting more money. And this allows you to defer your tax deferred accounts. So remember your 401ks, your IRA accounts, Roth IRAs. This allows you to let those monies grow and continue to get compound interest and maybe take those funds later on down the road in retirement. We can also talk about annuities, which again, there are a lot of different annuity accounts out there. There are many different ways that they work. So a lot of them will have, a value to the account. A lot of them will give you a guaranteed income stream. So, working with an advisor, we can educate you on the different types of annuities that are available. So that's obviously a really important part of retirement income planning as well. And this could help to replace, some of the income that you're getting from other investments as well too, maybe leaving some of those funds for later on down in retirement. After your tax, favored accounts, some other accounts that you can start to withdraw on are your Roth IRAs. These are really, really critical because these are going to give you tax-free income. So when you take money from a Roth IRA, you do not owe any money to the federal government and you do not owe any money to the state. So if you're taking out $10,000 to supplement your income, you're really getting $10,000 net. So it's a really important tool for retirement plan. Later on down the road, again, we spoke about RMDs at age 72. This is when you might start to take from your qualified accounts or your 401ks and traditional IRAs, because these would allow the accounts to grow over time, and then you start to take it later on down the road. You also, later on in retirement, maybe you're not earning as much in terms of income, so you might be at a lower tax bracket. So remember, anything that you take from a 401k or a traditional IRA will be taxable. So you want to take a look at what your tax rate or your tax bracket is going to be later on in retirement. This might allow you to owe less to the federal government and applicable state taxes as well. Traditional IRAs do not receive a step up in income tax basis when they're transferred to younger beneficiaries at the owner's death. However, they do go spouse to spouse. So if you're married and God forbid something happens to you, your spouse will inherit your IRA and they will not owe any taxes right off the bat. It will become his or her IRA that is now in their own name. So just an important from a spousal standpoint, IRAs do transfer directly to the spouse. Another hot topic that I talk with a lot of my clients about is healthcare costs in retirement, and it can sometimes be scary because you don't realize how much you'll actually be spending on healthcare, and we're not even talking about long-term care insurance. So healthcare costs, can continue to be one of the largest expenses in retirement. And remember, Medicare is only providing a very limited amount of long-term care costs. So if you do need help with long-term care or activities of daily living, maybe you need somebody in the home to help you in the later years, or you're going to be going to an assisted living facility, something like that, Medicare is only going to cover at absolute most 100 days of coverage. And that's at the absolute maximum. You have to go through some kind of hoops there, but Medicare is not a way to pay for long-term care insurance. So Fidelity they do a healthcare study every year, and the most recent one was in August of 2022. They estimate that an individual retiree will spend over $300,000 in healthcare costs over the course of their retirement. So I think a lot of people take a step back and they say, geez, that's a really large number. Remember, this is over maybe the 20 or 30 or maybe 4 years in retirement. And this is the average. Some people may pay less if they're not sick and they don't have a lot of costs. And some individuals with, a lot of prescriptions and things like that, they may pay, up to $300,000 in healthcare costs. So not something to necessarily scare you, but just to be aware of the fact that later on in retirement, healthcare costs are going to definitely be a huge portion of your retirement expenses. So the cost of care, I ran this as Boston, Massachusetts, which obviously is probably one of the more expensive places in the country to receive care. I think California and New York are the only other areas that are as expensive. So take this with a grain of salt, but these are just 3 different types of long-term care facilities that you could be paying for in retirement. So home health care. So if you need somebody to come into the home and help you with activities of daily living, the average annual cost is about $40,000 a year. The average assisted living facility is upwards of $50,000 a year. Remember, these might be part-time. Maybe you're spending some time in home and part of the time in assisted living facilities. And a nursing home in the city of Boston, being there 100% can cost up to $170,000 per year. So again, it doesn't always start with a nursing home. Maybe that's the place that happens, later on down the road. But just being aware that health insurance and long-term care is going to be a really big part of your retirement expense. Inflation is the other hot topic. Obviously, we've seen record inflation this year. So it's really important to consider what role inflation plays with your retirement income. So we used $1,000. So obviously $1,000 today, if there was no inflation in 35 years, it's worth $1,000, but there's no way that that's going to happen because inflation happens throughout the year. So at just a 1% inflation rate, $1,000 today in 35 years would be worth just over $700. So how do we combat inflation? Well, there's different ways. You can invest into equities, mutual funds, stocks, those types of things that tend to go with inflation or keep pace with inflation, I would say, over the long run. And look at the 3% inflation rate. That's really kind of eye-opening. So $1,000 today at a 3% inflation rate over 35 years would be worth $355 in the future. The average inflation rate for 2021 was about 4.7%. And the year to date, obviously, we've seen the highest inflation we've seen in 40 years. The year to date inflation as of the end of September was over 8%. I don't think that's going to be the long-term inflation rate, but inflation for the last 5 to 10 years was relatively low. And I think we're starting to see it pick up. And I think maybe 3, 4, 5% is a good estimate for future inflation. So just understanding that if money is sitting in a checking account or a savings account and it's not earning a lot of interest, you're basically losing when it comes to inflation. So making sure that you're investing in your 401k, investing outside of your 401k and saving for the future is really going to help you. Social Security is another topic that we cover with our clients. There are hundreds and hundreds of different ways to take Social Security. So I won't go too in depth in it, but just discussing some of the basics on Social Security. It's going to be kind of the foundation of your income in the future. So most people, as long as you worked 40 quarters, you will have Social Security, and that's going to be the base of your income, but it's really not going to cover a huge portion of your income. So, choosing when to take Social Security is really important. You have to look at your health, your tax status, maybe the needs of your survivors, your children, your grandchildren, and you're also looking at not only your current income needs, but potential future income needs later on down the road in retirement. So a couple of reasons that an individual may take Social Security early. So maybe at age 62 is usually the age where individuals consider whether or not they want to start taking the Social Security. Maybe it's the only way that you can afford to retire. Maybe you weren't lucky enough to have a 401k. Maybe you didn't have the ability to save for yourself for the future. So at 62, you're retired. Maybe you have to take Social Security because it's the only way that you're going to receive income. Maybe there is a life expectancy issue in your family. Maybe there's a health issue there where your family isn't living very long in retirement, and you might decide, hey, I'll take it at age 62 because I don't know how long I'm going to live, that might be another reason why you take Social Security early. You could also want to, take advantage of that income and maybe invest that for the future. If you look at the time value of money, maybe at 62, you want to start using that money to invest and grow assets for your future. And also, maybe you're just really skeptical about the long-term outlook of Social Security. I know a lot of individuals are scared that, maybe 20, 30, 40 years down the road, Social Security will not look the same as it is today. There'll surely be some adjustments to that. So if you just want to take advantage of the income right now, you can go ahead and take it early, understanding that there will be a significantly reduced, Social Security amount for the future if you do take it early. Maybe some reasons why you want to delay Social Security. Higher benefits in the later years. So everyone born after the age of after the year 1960, your full retirement age from Social Security is age 67. So that is what they consider your full retirement age. If you take it at age 62, you're taking a significant decrease in your income. If you defer after age 67, and let's say you want to wait until age 70, you will get an 8% increase on your income every year that you wait. So again, I'll say that again. If age 67 is your full retirement age, you can start to take it then, but if you decide to defer it until age 70, you will get an 8% increase to your Social Security income. That's a pretty substantial increase. That's probably going to keep pace with any sort of inflation that we're seeing. So I always say that if individuals want to maximize their Social Security, after age 67, you get an 8% increase every year. Some benefits of working longer, right? So maybe you're still working into retirement. Maybe you opened up a business, or you're doing consulting, or you're still working for your company and you want to wait until you are 70 or 72 to take Social Security. This will help you to potentially delay those RMDs. So we know that at age 72, you need to take RMDs from your IRAs. However, if you're still working and you're still contributing to your 401k plans, you do not have to take RMDs on your 401k plan as long as you are still employed. So this is a way to reduce RMDs, increase your retirement savings, and just defer or delay retirement income for the future while you're still working. Helps you accumulate more money for the future, stay active in your field, not just physically, but mentally. I think it's important to stay engaged. That's obviously very important for a state of health. And it helps you to continue saving for not only yourself, but maybe your family members as well.
Anthony, a couple questions came up. One, is there a requirement, or how much work has to happen? Like, is it 10 hours a week? Is there a certain amount of work in order to delay the RMDs?
Yeah, so as long as you are working, I believe, I don't know the exact rules there, but if you're working even part-time and you're earning an income from your employer, you're still considered working. So as long as you are still with your employer, you can delay those RMDs if the money is still in your 401k plan. Remember, if you had rolled it over to an IRA plan, you will need to take RMDs even if you're still working. But if you're within your 401k plan, you are able to delay those RMDs for the 401k section.
Great. And then another question that came in on the chat, you talked about for every year that you delay after 67, you get the 8% increase in your Social Security. Is there a limit to that?
Great question, Kevin. So it actually stops. That 8% deferral will stop at age 70. So I would suggest that at age 70, if you haven't taken Social Security yet, start to take it, because at that point, there's really no benefit of waiting. I do see a lot of our clients, if they're working into their later 60s, delay at age 67 and wait till 70. But at age 70, you might as well start taking it, because there's really no benefit there.
Thank you.
Sure. Any other questions there, Kev?
That's it for now.
Okay. This is a very general page here. I'll kind of talk about this. This just takes into account some of the software illustrations that we can run you, in taking a look at, okay, I've saved for the future, I've done a good job with my 401k, I'm ready to retire. How do we test the suitability? How do we test to see, are your assets going to sustain a level of income? So for example, this is just a married couple that are taking into account the needs for their income. They have some Social Security coming in, they have their expenses, and they know how much they're going to be taking from their accounts, the retirement accounts. However, let's say Peter in this example has a health event. If he has a health event early on and he needs to start taking additional income to sustain those expenses, this may impact his ability to sustain his income over the long term. So as things change in your world, as you have health events, or maybe you have an increase in your expenses in retirement, we can go in and run scenarios to see how are you doing, right? We'll run checkups on your income, your expenses, and just understanding that working with an advisor, it's not just creating a plan and then going with that plan. Things change all the time. Your lifestyle may change, your family situation may change, your health situation may change. So as things change in your world, we're able to amend your plan, and we use some pretty good software to help kind of come up with some of those numbers. So I just wanted to show you an example of that. So at the end of the day, Mark and I and our team here at Sentinel, we're here to help you achieve your retirement goals. Again, everybody's situation is different. We have all sorts of retirement plans that we help our clients, save for, but working with a financial professional can help you in the decision-making process. We'll talk about inflation, taxes, market cycles, and also the, kind of the sequence of where to draw your income from. So maybe we start with some of those tax-free accounts and we defer your IRAs or your 401ks because we know you're going to have taxes owed on those. So, we'll help walk you through that step by step. And that's basically what an advisor is going to do throughout the process. So I did want to put all of our contact information here for myself, Mark, and Christine, who is our assistant here. So if you have any questions at all, feel free to reach out to us. Again, we have the 401k. We are here as your advisors. It is a free service. I always want to mention that. We do not charge for consultation. We will sit down or have a Zoom or a phone call and go through your specific situation. And if we can help you with anything, that's what our team is here to do. So with that being said, we certainly appreciate your time and your attention today. And Kevin and Rolinda, thank you for helping us coordinate today's meeting. And we're here if you need anything. But with that being said, happy Thanksgiving to everyone. And we look forward to seeing you in the near future.
Thanks, Anthony. I'll just open it up to see if there's any other questions before we end today's session. Please unmute yourself. Oh, Mr. Holmes, not only unmuting yourself, but turning on the video. I can't wait for your very difficult question, I'm sure.
So Anthony, I'd just like to reach out to the group and say thank you very much for putting on today's presentation. Always great information, always learn something new. And again, I just wanted to say thank you to you and your group. Have a great holiday. Thank you to everybody that joined us today too. I hope it was beneficial to you, and thank you to the HR group for always looking to find new ways to educate our members and managers. So thank you again.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you, Kevin, and happy Thanksgiving as well.
Okay. Doesn't look like we have any other questions. If anyone after this would like the contact information, please feel free to reach out to myself, anyone on the HR team. Again, we will be distributing a link for the recording of today's sessions for you to share with family members or as well as other members who weren't able to join us today. Thanks, everyone. Happy Thanksgiving. Stay safe. Stay healthy.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.